In late 2024, The Rock's movie Red One became a widely mocked target across the internet. It was incredibly easy to ridicule. The production was messy, the costs spiraled out of control, and bizarre stories about the actor's off-screen behavior circulated. When it premiered in theaters, the film was an outright flop. Despite this disastrous beginning, Red One eventually found its audience through streaming platforms, where it arguably should have debuted from the start. Today, we're revisiting this film to delve into its troubled history, uncover the reasons behind its failure, and I'll share some personal thoughts on the entire project. The conception of Red One dates back to 2021 with Hiram Garcia, a longtime collaborator of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and president of production at their company, $7 Productions. Garcia envisioned a globe-trotting four-quadrant action-adventure comedy that imagines a whole new universe to explore within the holiday genre, naturally starring The Rock. The script was handed to Chris Morgan, known for writing and producing many Fast and Furious movies. Director Jake Kasdan, who had previously worked with Johnson on the Jumanji sequels, was brought in to helm the project. By early 2022, the cast was populated with Kiernan Shipka, Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons, Nick Kroll, Bonnie Hunt, and Chris Evans. Chris Evans actually exited another box office failure, Fly Me to the Moon, to join this film before being replaced by Channing Tatum. Filming began in October 2022 in Atlanta, Georgia, and concluded in February 2023. By the end of production, the budget was estimated at between $200 and $250 million, depending on the source. This number excludes marketing, distribution, and theater cuts. How did the budget get so out of control? The answer largely points to The Rock himself. Johnson reportedly earned an eye-popping $50 million for his role, making it one of the highest-paid single-film performances ever. This was because Red One was originally intended for an Amazon Prime release, where actors typically receive larger upfront payments due to the absence of back-end profit-sharing deals. In simple terms, back-end deals allow actors to receive a share of profits after production expenses are covered, but straight-to-streaming projects usually pay more upfront instead. Amazon MGM Studios later decided to release Red One theatrically after positive test screenings. However, the budget ballooned not just from The Rock's salary, but also due to his behavior on set. Reports claimed Johnson was often late, sometimes by up to 8 hours, forcing the crew to shoot around him. There were even days he allegedly didn't show up at all. These chronic tardiness issues supposedly pushed the budget from $200 million to $250 million, though Johnson and Garcia vehemently denied these claims. An Amazon MGM spokesperson stated, "Our testing has been very strong. The reaction from CinemaCon speaks for itself, and we couldn't have made it without Dwayne's constant work and support. Any reporting that implies that we got to this point with him showing up 7 to 8 hours late to set is both ridiculous and false." Some sources even suggest the $250 million budget was greenlit from the start. Regardless, the budget was undeniably enormous. Further peculiar on-set behavior reportedly involved Johnson urinating in water bottles to save time. According to an insider quoted by The Wrap, on set, away from his trailer, if he needs to pee, he doesn't go to the public bathroom. He pees in a Voss water bottle, and his team or a PA has to dispose of it. Johnson himself confirmed this habit in a GQ interview, stating, "I pee in a bottle. Yeah, that happens, man." Imagine being the assistant tasked with disposing of those bottles. In the same interview, Johnson admitted to occasional tardiness, but dismissed the extreme claims of 7 or 8 hour delays as exaggerated. Interestingly, similar late arrivals were reported during the filming of Red Notice, even sparking a rumored fight with Ryan Reynolds, though they later reconciled as sequels were planned. Originally, Red One was set for an Amazon Prime release during Christmas 2023, but plans changed. Instead, the film was released theatrically on November 15, 2024, partly due to positive test screenings and complications from the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Johnson advocated for an IMAX release after watching Oppenheimer in that format. He shared with Deadline, "I watched Oppenheimer. It was amazing. But I was thinking, holy expletive, Red One on this screen with this technology could be game over. I remember texting director Jake Kasdan a picture of my bare chest and a picture of the screen, and we realized how cool IMAX would be." On opening weekend, Red One earned $32 million, ranking second at the box office. Domestically, it grossed $97 million, while international markets contributed $89 million, bringing the worldwide total to $186 million. Against the reported $250 million budget, some estimates placed the box office loss at around $100 million. However, the movie later enjoyed a second life on Amazon Prime, debuting on December 12th after just a month in theaters. Within its first 4 days on the platform, it garnered 50 million views worldwide, surpassing the Roadhouse remake as the most viewed Amazon MGM Studios film debut on Prime Video. This suggests Red One found some success post-theatrical release and may have recouped part of its losses, though exact streaming subscription impacts remain unclear. So why did Red One bomb so badly in theaters? One major reason was its enormous budget. Greenlighting a $250 million project without a guaranteed blockbuster franchise or established intellectual property in 2024 was a huge gamble. The Rock's involvement proved to be a double-edged sword. His on-set antics generated negative publicity, and his mainstream appeal had waned in recent years. Johnson's characters have become repetitive, leading to audience fatigue. Moreover, his previous films, like 2021's Jungle Cruise and 2022's Black Adam, had underperformed, damaging his box office draw. Chris Evans, who also starred in Red One, hadn't enjoyed much post-Endgame success either. Aside from Knives Out, many of his recent films flopped or received poor reviews, including Lightyear, The Gray Man, Pain Hustlers, and Ghosted. None of this reflects on his talent. He's a capable actor, but perhaps some of his recent choices weren't ideal for maintaining his star power. The timing of Red One's theatrical release was also unfortunate. The film moved to streaming just a month after its debut, potentially discouraging families from seeing it in theaters during the holiday season. This rapid transition is common with Christmas releases in November, which often see a boost nearer to Christmas, but not in Red One's case. Worse still, Red One opened just a week before two of 2024's biggest films, Wicked and Gladiator 2. Wicked grossed over $750 million worldwide, and Gladiator 2 earned more than $460 million globally. Moana 2 followed shortly after. These blockbuster releases completely overshadowed Red One in theaters and diverted the pop culture conversation away from it, further dooming its box office prospects. In my personal opinion, Red One also ranks as one of the worst trailers of 2024. I remember sitting in the theater, forced to watch that trailer multiple times before other movies, and wanting to claw my eyes out. The humor was cheesy and painfully predictable. Performances looked uninspired and half-hearted. The film tried too hard to mimic a superhero movie during an era saturated with superhero fatigue, feeling more like a commercial product than a genuine creative work. It seemed to target children rather than whole families. Yet it was rated PG-13, which alienated both younger children and some teenagers. This awkward rating left it stuck in an uncomfortable middle ground. Critically, Red One fared poorly. It holds a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 2.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and a 34% on Metacritic. The movie quickly became a punchline within the film community. However, Rotten Tomatoes presents a split perspective, with a dismal 30% critic score, but a surprisingly strong 89% audience score. This suggests that although it failed to attract theatergoers or critical approval, the film found a niche audience after streaming release. As The Rock himself said, Red One has a long shelf life with multiple verticals. Having discussed its commercial failure, I now want to share some personal reflections on why I think the film simply isn't very good. Before diving into my thoughts, here's a quick plot recap for those who haven't seen it. Spoiler alert. The story follows Callum Drift, The Rock, Santa's bodyguard, who plans to retire soon as Christmas approaches. Meanwhile, Jack O'Malley, Chris Evans, a level 4 naughty lister, steals seismic data and sells it on the dark web, unknowingly revealing Santa's North Pole workshop location. Santa is kidnapped by the evil Christmas witch Gryla, who wants to steal his powers to trap all naughty people in snow globes. Callum and Jack team up to save Christmas despite their clashing personalities. Their journey includes imprisonment in Krampus's castle, Santa's brother. But they escape. Jack redeems himself and escapes his snow globe prison. The duo eventually confront Gryla in a CGI-heavy battle, aided by Krampus and Santa. The film ends happily, with Santa delivering presents and Callum postponing retirement. This was my second viewing of Red 1. I initially saw it in theaters upon release, perhaps a form of self-torture. I don't think the film is the absolute worst, but it definitely falls short. I had some hope because Jake Kasdan directed one of my favorite comedies, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cop story, and I enjoyed his work on the Jumanji sequels. What did I like? The shot of Santa on the sleigh was well done. Krampus's makeup was impressive, and some world-building elements worked. J.K. Simmons' performance stood out, as did the present delivery sequence, and parts of the snowman fight. Plus, the fact that this movie led The Rock to admit to peeing in Voss water bottles is hilarious. I can understand why some people enjoyed it. The first act of the movie isn't terrible either, but once Santa is kidnapped, things go downhill fast. The second act drags on painfully, with sequences overstaying their welcome. The writing is lazy, relying on exposition fed directly to the audience, and plot developments propelled by coincidence. The film's humor is filled with groan-inducing one-liners. Performances are what you'd expect. The Rock plays his usual version of himself, but less charismatic and emotional than ever before. He's capable of great acting when he tries. He was excellent in The Smashing Machine. But here, he seems checked out. The chemistry between him and Chris Evans is non-existent. Speaking of Evans, his over-the-top jerk persona fails to translate into effective humor, coming across as merely annoying. The film attempts to portray him as a thief with a heart of gold, but viewers simply don't care about his character. His constant exclamations of whoa, wow, and what, every time something strange happens, become tiresome. Lucy Liu, Nick Kroll, and the rest of the supporting cast largely phone in their performances, seemingly just there to collect paychecks. I can't entirely blame them. Actors can be good in bad movies, but here, few rise above. Despite the gargantuan $200+ million budget, much of the film looks subpar. Miniature rocks swinging characters around, obvious green screen shots, and a lifeless CGI battle at the end all betray the high cost. The beach scene is especially egregious. The movie has a distinctly made-for-streaming visual quality, characterized by flat lighting that lacks depth and contrast. It looks like a commercial, which is fitting, because the film feels like a product designed solely to fill content quotas rather than to express a unique vision or story. While there's some humanity buried within, people clearly worked hard. The film's soul is plastic, and batteries are definitely not included. And on the subject of being soulless, a quick note on today's sponsor, Palantir. Just kidding, that's a joke. This video was actually sponsored by Hot Wheels. No wait, I'm messing around. The real sponsor is Voss Water. Sorry, we've lost the plot here. Usually, I don't root for original movies to bomb at the box office, but Red 1's failure was justified. From a bland script to uninspired performances and an absurd budget, it's no surprise the film failed to connect with theater audiences. It's a textbook example of a made-for-streaming movie. Content created for the sake of content alone. So, that's the Johnny Misfire behind 2024's Red 1. What are your thoughts? Have you seen the film? What's your favorite Christmas movie? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Here's a hint about next week's video.